Hello friends, today we're headed down south. We're going to visit a internet friend of mine. I'll call him an internet friend. Andy Dole, the Trippy Farmer. Some of you may know him from YouTube. He does an awesome job of vlogging. Hopefully learn the ropes of how to vlog better and pay him a visit and check out his farming operation. Glorious Ethanol. I could be wrong, but I think it's the largest dry mill ethanol plant in the United States. Please don't rain, please don't rain, please don't rain. This must be Trippy headquarters here. Trippy HQ. Go say hi.
Matt from Prairie State.
Yes, yes.
You got it in the wrong hand. We got to do a right-handed head shake. There we go.
You got to teach me the ways of the GoPro.
It's a learning process. I'm not a GoPro man. I got my camera in the truck. Fortunately for us, we had a rain a couple days ago. Got a little chilly last night, so moisture came up. Don't need to get a super early start. It's about 10 o'clock right now. I'll lie to you and say it's 6:30 because all farmers get up super early and work hard. Matt made his way, what, 2 hours down here to South Central Illinois?
Yeah, 2.5, 3 hours.
Yep. We both share the central part. He's more north central. I'm south central, but central all alike, like brothers from another mother.
Good soil type.
Yep. Well, we got a lot of diversity. We're right here. You can see a little bit of a hill on the glacial moraine. So some of those glaciers that came down, tilled up the ground, the prairie grass, all that stuff over the millennia, stopped here, came back, stopped. So we have a diverse amount of soil, a little bit different topography. We farm everything from good black prairie soil to light clays and timber soils. Have to be adaptable. At the same time, we're far enough north that we get, you know, a mixture of cool and warm weather. So we typically get a roll with the black dirt farmers that go early, and then also maybe drag our feet a little bit on some of the lighter clays. Tile in some places, other places not so much, but anymore everyone tiles a lot of their farms. So yeah, there's a lot of infrastructure out here. So here's what I record with. It's seen its better days. Sony A7S III, got a G Master 2.8 aperture, 16 by 35 G Master lens. It's big. I dropped it out of the backhoe a couple days ago and the zoom hasn't been working as well. For being on the farm though, for almost 2 years, year and a half now, I can't remember, it's in pretty good shape.
Pretty nice.
You get a pretty good workout holding it out like that all day. You get used to it though. So
you got to set up the tripod all the time.
I do if I'm working on the ground. Yeah. That's one of the things about a GoPro that's a lot nicer than a big camera like this. Much more user friendly, easier to put on things. Like this one, I mean, I either set it in the ground. It's hard to work and film at the same time with this. So doing dynamic stuff where I need both hands, not as simple. I don't know.
Gotcha.
I originally filmed with a GoPro, kind of like what you have. And anyone out there watching, if you're interested in making videos like this, definitely recommend the GoPro. It's by far the easiest thing to work with. Image stabilization's great. You don't need anything crazy like this. I just have a knack for spending way too much money, and this is a great way to do that.
I mean, that's useful for other things you're trying to capture too, not just vlogging. So
yeah, except for I'm not a photographer. I do shoot some of my thumbnails with this, but yeah, at the end of the day, an iPhone, a newer iPhone, can take almost as good of pictures as the eye can even really perceive. Well, I'm gonna set my camera down, and Matt wants me to give you guys a quick tour of our farm.
We need the quick tour.
Okay, I don't know where to start exactly. My family's been farming for quite a long time here in Paradise Township. Literally, not figuratively. We are in Paradise Township. I don't think this qualifies as paradise, though. They say paradise is a place that looks like home. We're southwestern Coles County, Shelby County to the west and to the south, Cumberland a little bit farther to the south and east. You go north, we've got Douglas County about 35 miles. Then you got Champaign, Moultrie to the northwest. There's a lot of different counties around here, and like I mentioned earlier, a lot of variation in soil type, especially once you get north of here about 5 miles, you hit Route 16, and that's typically what people would claim as the dividing line between God's country and not God's country. You get up there, you get those flat, black, square 240-acre fields. Nothing in the world to worry about other than an occasional high-voltage transmission line that you might hit. Great soil, but we can also grow great stuff down here, good yields in our crops, as long as we get rain. Anyways, my family has been farming in direct descendancy here in Coles County for 175 years, give or take a year. My math's a little bit rusty right now after doing all the constant planting season calculations. Started in 1847, I believe. I'm gonna give you guys a quick tour of what we run with. Obviously, all of this equipment, which is mostly John Deere, that's the best thing you can buy, wasn't all bought in 1 year. I mean, this is decades of equipment investment all adding up. I'll start right here with our big tillage horse. We've got a 2021 John Deere 9620R, 620 rated horsepower, pulling a 52.5-foot 2230 FH field cultivator. We had a 44-foot field cultivator on this tractor, and the tractor about pulled it in two. So we had to get something a little bit wider. True Set, it's been a good machine. We bought it a couple years used, and no complaints about that.
You like running the True Set?
The True Set's really nice. I'm not gonna say that it's really the bee's knees by any means, because at the end of the day, you still have to get out and look and verify, you know, working depths and conditions. So it's not like you wouldn't necessarily be able to just walk around and adjust a single point. I do think though, for a technologically advanced operator, it is really cool and definitely easy to play around with, especially if you're doing something more dynamic. You can do prescription tillage if you want. It's a little more advanced than what we do. Or just if you've worked a field and you're working around the edges to clean it up again, you can bump it out of the ground just with a preset button or a few clicks. Go from 3 inches, which is usually our standard soybean stubble tillage depth, up to anywhere 1.5, back the down pressure off the baskets. Quick stuff like that make technology like this really nice. Our second tillage tractor is the 9460R. It's about a decade old, give or take a few years. It's pulling what was a brand new 52.5-foot 2230 FH field cultivator. The 9460R only has 460 horsepower. Not gonna lie, that you probably need a little more horses under the hood to pull this field cultivator, especially if you're trying to go 2 to 3 inches deep. It's been running on a lot of corn stalks. We kind of keep it a little shallower on there, just scratch the top, air it out. So it's not pulling as deep as the 9620 is on soybean stubble. So you don't really notice the lack of power, though this thing is putting all it can into pulling this field cultivator. Maybe looking in the future to upgrade to this to something with a little more horsepower, but for now it does the job. We've got plenty of tillage capacity for what we're trying to do. The ground doesn't usually dry quick enough anyways to need to cover it all in one foul swoop. My sister Katie is in charge of operating this tractor. Like I said, she works mostly corn stalks. It was brand new, but it's definitely not classified that anymore. I noticed the other day when I was looking around it, she must have grabbed something with her back harrow, because there's a nice old bend on it. And it may have actually already gotten the cutting torch treatment one day this week. I must have not been here. Only takes a little bit of time and one misestimation of how wide your field cultivator is, and next thing you know, it's definitely used.
It happens. So how many of you are in the operation?
Myself, my sister, and then my dad and 2 uncles. So I've got 3 of the older generation, and myself and my sister. My dad is probably technically the boss. I think he's recognized as the boss. I'm very actively involved in the decision making, especially in different things, but at the end of the day, he calls all the final shots. My sister and I don't have any true ownership here, other than I own this Hagee here with the help of John Deere Financial. This is new to us. It is a 2020 Hagee. Just bought it this spring, actually got it about a week to 2 weeks ago. First time we've had a sprayer on our farm in as long as I can remember, probably a couple decades. We do have an old John Deere high cycle high boy sprayer, but this thing is like a spaceship compared to that. I've been doing a lot of learning. I've never operated or even ridden in a sprayer, and it's different, but we're slowly becoming more efficient. Really, in my opinion, the sprayer is a necessary upgrade if you want to be competitive in the farming marketplace. You get a reduction in chemical costs, as well as you save on custom application fees. I'm not saying it's all profit, though there definitely is a margin to be captured there. So this is a 21 STS-12 120-foot boom, 15-inch nozzle spacing. Pretty good. Had a few issues with it so far. I don't know how many of those were operator error and how many of those were just used machine problems. Either way, by about yesterday at noon, I'd figured it out somewhat. If it wasn't fixed, I at least knew how to work around the problem.
Got it all dialed in now, don't you?
Yeah. The operator's not dialed in. The sprayer, though, it's getting things figured out. Hagee Mechanic Alliance tractor recommended that I take off the back boom because it just kind of bounces around. It was kind of rusted into place, though, so I just took the boom off as opposed to the actual mounts. If I had a little bit more time, the sprayer showed up kind of last minute. We were already planting. I would have actually taken those out. It kind of looks less than ideal. Almost looks like a wheelie bar. This one is new enough that it has a John Deere rate controller. It's John Deere steering, which is good for me because I'm not familiar with the Raven or anything like that. I've heard mixed reviews about those systems. So it's got the NORAC boom system all through the John Deere display, the Hagee display down here. So most of the engine boom settings are all here on the Hagee system, though the new models look pretty sweet.
Got the big shop here.
Yep, this is the premium shop. We've got the luxurious limestone floor installed. We ran out of money by the time it came to concrete, so the rock is degraded since we built this in 2013. Gonna give an honorable mention for tillage to this other 9460R, this tractor, and the 2660 VT John Deere adjustable vertical till are kind of just here in case we need them. The field cultivators seem to do a good job on 99% of the acres. Though if they do get a little bit overgrown with some winter annuals and we're not trying to use herbicide, we can use this VT because it does chew through weeds really well. And it actually leaves a surprisingly good seed bed. I know some farmers actually use these for spring tillage. Still think a field cultivator does a better job and is more forgiving than a disc in the spring, but to each their own. This 2660 VT is primarily just a fall tool. Like I said, though, we keep it hooked up just in case we need it for some reason, or sometimes neighbors borrow it or whatever. It's nice to have a backup tractor too, so if one of the big four-wheel drives breaks down, this other 9460R could be used to pull a field cultivator. Back in the corner of the barn, we just have some fall tillage tools. We won't talk about them too much. Right here is the planter tractor that runs corn. My dad operates this. We've got a John Deere 8310R 310 horsepower front wheel assist with a 1775 24 row, 60 foot, 30-inch spacing, ExactEmerge corn planter. These ExactEmerge planters, ladies and gentlemen, are literally the best thing since sliced bread. If you've got the horses under the hood to pull them, they will perform at 12 or 13 mile an hour. No BS there at all. They really are that good. They are a little bit picky when it comes to seed size and shape. They love plenty of graphite. And we have noticed that they run better at 11 than they do at 7. So you got to be willing to kind of bump it up a little bit on them. But with the hydraulic downforce on each row, wing downforce, really, they're great as long as you don't have any kind of electrical issues. We had a few problems the first year we got it in 2017. My memory's slipping a little bit here. I think some of that was my dad just not knowing how to operate it very well. And then there were just some electrical problems. Since then, it's been flawless. And my dad gets done planting about a week before I do because he just cooks through the fields. It also helps that soybean stubble typically dries quicker than corn stalk. So definitely a viable upgrade if you guys are looking for something that you think will help you in the spring. As long as you can stay ahead of it with tillage or herbicide application, they're great. Okay, another honorable mention. It is spring, so the combines, the grain cart, and this corn head are irrelevant. We do have a 1-year-old John Deere S780 here, a 7 or 8-year-old John Deere S670 here, a J&M 1122 grain cart on tracks, and then an 8-row John Deere corn head. It's a C8R. This off-season, we've upgraded our second 8-row corn head to a 12-row folder, non-chopping, because I've been eaten alive in the comments for the last couple of years about putting an 8-row on a 780. That's just blasphemous. You can do it, ladies and gentlemen, when you're raising 220 plus bushel corn. You can keep an S780 full, albeit you're going to be going 7 mile an hour. It will stay full at max capacity. We did upgrade that, so you'd leave me alone. We've got a 12-row folder coming for the S780. We kept the second 8-row to put on the 670 as a backup, or at least that's what my dad said. As the grain cart driver for 2 combines, 1 grain cart, I hope that we just park the other combine. Other than that, they both run in soybeans. It's great having 2 in soybeans. You can cover a lot of ground. Economically, probably pretty close to being able to justify the trade to an X9, although I don't know that on an acreage basis we really need that. They're big, expensive machines, arguably more fuel efficient. You may save some money by downsizing on the number of header equipment you have. I don't know. It'd be sweet to have. I know we've got some neighbors with some coming in this summer for next fall. Hopefully they let me ride. But other than that, I mean, it's worked for us like this, so we'll probably keep it this way for now.
Sounds like a demo opportunity, Alliance.
There you go. Yeah, they don't have very many demos anymore. Ever since like that C word thing hit, all the demos disappeared. And then the black J&M grain cart, ladies and gentlemen, black is in style. It is one of the best looking grain carts you can have. Doesn't matter if you're Brent or J&M or even Elmer's. I don't know who all offers a black grain cart. They look good. Now they do look dirtier once they get dirty, but some may argue that dirty equipment is just the way it's meant to be.
You store most of the grain here?
We have a few different bin sites. We can't store all of our grain, though we can store a large majority of it. Usually the south 5 bins have corn in them. North one we put beans in, and then we've got some satellite locations. I would say when it's all said and done, depending on our final yields, maybe 75% of our corn we can store and 40 to 50% of our beans, depending on how we're feeling. We are building a new 48-foot grain bin to the south of this old one. What's different for us here that you may not see as you get farther north into Illinois and Minnesota. We don't rely as heavily on drying systems as a lot of people do. Obviously, that is up to operator choice, but we just let it dry down in the field because it stays warmer down here and usually isn't an issue as long as it's under 20%. When we put it in the bin, we can blow some air through it and it'll stay in good quality. Some of those operations on YouTube have grain facilities that rival commercial elevators around here. It's actually pretty magnificent if you see it. Something that's different for those of you who are not in Illinois or probably Iowa, the grain infrastructure around here in terms of commercial storage is so robust. I mean, there's multi-million bushel facilities 10 miles in every direction. There's no really bottleneck other than a few facilities being slower than others if you're wanting to store commercially. So a lot of people go that way. And with the cost of a grain system anymore, it gets harder and harder to justify that. Though if you were covering the acreage and you wanted to get started earlier, you would need a big dryer. Last but not least, this is my pride and joy. We've got the soybean planting rig. It is a John Deere 8R370, so 370 horsepower front wheel assist with a brand new this season, John Deere DB60 36 row, 20-inch spacing, so 60 foot wide. We upgraded from a 1790 split row, so 1632 15-inch row soybean planter. We went to the 20-inch rows because adding the extra 5 rows to make this a 47 row planter on a 60 foot spacing was, I believe, almost $80,000 more. And we thought for $80,000 with the growing conditions we normally have, that the soybeans could just do 5 inches more of work. I know that some of you are still more of a fan of the narrower rows. There are advantages, weed control and other things, but we thought this was the best choice, economically speaking, and you shave off 11 rows, you reduce a lot of weight. Either way, this thing wasn't cheap. So it's been running good for us so far after the operator figured out how to use it correctly, which that's me. So the only person I have to blame up to this point is myself.
Is it Exact-Emerge or Max-Emerge 5e?
This is a Max-Emerge. It's only planting soybeans, and to be honest with you, I view soybeans as a controlled spill. It's got the independent hydraulic downforce. As long as I know those row units are staying in the ground, I'm not even the least bit concerned about how perfectly singulated they are. If you're wanting to go fast and be confident in your planting job, yeah, you'd probably need Exact-Emerge. But if you thought going to a 47 row on 60 foot was expensive, you should have seen how much the Exact-Emerge upgrade was going to cost. It would scare you right out of your boots.
I mean, it's no DB120 like I filmed the other day,
yeah,
but it's still got pretty good size to it.
Yeah, he's down with the poor people in central Illinois now. We're barely getting by. Someone waited too long to leave the field when it was raining the other day, and now we've got a mess.
You're a little muddy there,
yeah,
my friend.
If there ain't mud on the tires, you shouldn't even be planting soybeans.
The new 8R. What do you have previously before this?
We had an 8285R. It was a 2013. Sold it outright last summer. It had 600 hours on it. 8 years old, 600 hours. It caught quite the premium in the used market. At the time when we were looking for this last fall, Alliance didn't have any of these in stock, and my dad absolutely cannot stand dealership stickers that are obnoxious and in the way. So he didn't even have the time to get a heat gun out and properly take this off. He just ripped it off. Looks terrible, but that's just the way my dad operates. Also looks like someone, probably me, got a little close with the power washer and peeled off the John Deere. I think a little glue would fix that.
Some super glue.
Yeah.
Smack it right back on there.
Okay, well, you guys want to go plant some beans?
Let's do it.